Lately, I've been working a lot on the hips, and I don't know why. Maybe that's something I need. I've been doing a lot more walks lately with my husband. Um, every day we've been walking, and I think I need new runners because I always feel when I start feeling stuff in my knees or my hips, I feel like that's when I need more support because it really does come from the feet. And when we're practicing yoga, this is a really good time to connect to the feet. And when we're leaning into the toes and the heels, we feel the arches kind of lift naturally. It gives us a bit of strength in the feet and evenness in through the feet. And then that really radiates up through the knees, up through the hips, all the way up the body. So today, as we go through movement, maybe keep an eye out on how you're connecting and rooting in through the feet and also in through the hands when we're on our hands and knees, these kind of poses, down dog. Really make sure you're connecting into the tips of the fingers and the tips of the toes. So this connection and the connection to earth. And then that really wakes up the whole body. And then the whole body's working to hold you in a pose as opposed to just certain muscle groups and putting strain on certain muscles. So we want maximum benefit for the least amount of effort. We're going to start this morning on our backs. So if you can come lying down, and you have the choice of either having the knees bent or the legs can be straight, and you can put something underneath your legs a little bit if you want, or a little bit of something underneath your head. And then I'll ask you if you feel comfortable to bring your hands to your low belly and just let the elbows rest on the floor. And your eyes can either be closed or you can just softly look up and just be in that periphery vision where the eyes are soft and you're not really focused on anything. You're just taking in everything around you. But it is really nice to allow the eyes to close because it really shuts off one of our senses, the sense of sight. And when one sense is sort of closed down, the other one's kind of heightened. So it gives us a little bit more ability to connect inward and really feel. And yoga is really about connection, about union, about feeling, and really getting to know this mind-body connection. So just allow the weight of the head, the shoulders, the hips to surrender to the earth. And when we consciously let go and we consciously surrender, we feel the sense of ease, a sense of relaxing. Even if we thought we were relaxed, we seem to be able to let go a little bit more. And when the body is soft, we can focus on the breath and the movement of breath. So with the hands on the belly, we feel the movement of the low belly. And it's not that the air is moving there, it is the lungs that are filling, pushing the diaphragm down, and it pushes onto all the organs, which makes our belly rise and fall. So just following that movement underneath your hands and just watching, feeling from the inside how it feels to breathe in your body. Can you notice a slight movement in through the pelvis and the hips as you breathe deep? You might explore a deepening of the breath, but keep it comfortable. It doesn't have to be really, really big. It can be very comfortable but just slightly longer than your natural breath. And then notice that expanding quality as you breathe in, and that surrender and that drawing back to center as you exhale. It reminds me of the ocean and how the tide or the waves come in and out. It's almost like the earth is breathing. So our body has the same sort of movement where it draws in and out, creating a really soft resonance and a rhythm in our bodies. And if your legs are straight, I'll ask you if you can bend the knees and bring the feet to the floor. And often I'll ask you to let the knees lean into each other, but just let the knees be slightly apart. And let's connect in through our feet. So we just talked a little bit about connecting into the feet and how that feels moving up the body. So let's do that. We'll feel underneath our hands what happens when we connect in through the feet. So bring attention to the 10 toes, the full circle of your heels, and just gently lean them into the floor and notice what happens underneath your hands. Let everything relax. There's a very kind of soft engagement that happens. This is the deeper layers of our core. Okay, so now imagine there's a magnet between your knees and between your ankles. The legs won't lean into each other, but magnetically they'll start to draw in towards each other. So we'll bring that together with our feet. So root into the 10 toes, the full circle of the heel, and then bring those magnets between the knees and the ankles in towards each other. We feel maybe a little bit more of that core engage underneath our hands. And then keep that engagement, but soften it a little so that you can just hold it enough that you know it's there, but it's like feather light. You're not tight. Okay, so keeping this engagement right from the feet, those inner magnets, and we'll start to move our pelvis now. So as we inhale, start to tip the tailbone down and we lift a little bit the belly in towards the hands. The low back comes off the floor slightly. And as we exhale, start to rotate the pelvis the other way. The tailbone starts to lift away from the floor. The low back flattens down. And just work like that with your breath. Inhaling as we lift the belly up a little, and exhale as the low back comes down. So you feel this rotation with our breath. So you can move with your breath. If it's faster or slower, it's up to you. Just moving with your own rhythm. And then just noticing as we start to move the hips and pelvis, how that starts to move our head and our neck and everything. So we might notice a bit of a rocking in through the head, and how by rocking in through the hips and connecting in through the feet, that connects through everything in the body. So what we do in one part directly affects everything. Okay, let those movements become quite big if it feels okay. So really exaggerate this rocking of the pelvis. And then let that motion come slower and smaller until you come to the place of stillness that feels like the right position for your posture. So you slowly come into stillness, And it should feel like you have this natural curve of the low back, that you're not tilted too far one way or the other. And then just observe the sensations from that rocking. And then from there, we'll take the knees and let them tick-tock a little bit from the side to side. But I want you to bring the focus again from the hips and the pelvis. So it's almost like the hip is lifting on one side and then down, and then the other side lifts up and down. And the knees moving from side to side are sort of a byproduct of the hips moving. So it's like we're rocking on the pelvis, but we're going from side to side instead of the other way that we just did. And then notice again, as we rock a little side to side, how that connects and moves all the way up in through the shoulders and in through the arms, in through the neck and the head. Good, and then let that movement come back to center, pause. Let everything relax. Now I didn't mention, but I would like you, if you can, to grab a blanket or maybe a little block, and you can take your blanket or block and we're going to place it underneath our pelvis. So just enough to lift the hips up a little bit. So if you can fold your blanket a little, or you can use one of those green spongy blocks, or even a book that's about 1.5 inches or maybe 2 inches thick, and just place that underneath your pelvis so the hips are up a little bit. So we're going to lift the legs up in the air, and it just makes it a little bit easier on the hip joints to lift if the hips are up a little bit. Okay, so again, let's bring attention to the feet, root down into the toes and the heels, and let the left foot stay rooted. Actually, just don't root into the feet. I'm just going to show you something. So bring again your hands to the hips. And just notice what happens when you bring the right knee into the chest. So if you bring it up, you might notice a bit of a shifting in through the hips and the pelvis. So bring that foot down, and then just notice on the other side how there's a slight shifting of the hips when we lift without connection. Okay, bring that foot down. Now again, find that connection into the toes, the heels. Find your inner magnets. Let it soften just slightly so you're engaged, you're leaning gently that left foot into the floor, and then feel how the hips stay secure as we lift the right knee to chest. It's a little bit more secure for the hips when we do that. And then just take the right foot up towards the ceiling. And the knee can be slightly bent. Okay. So now if you're finding that bringing the foot all the way up brings a real burning sensation or gripping it through the hip, this can be done with the knee completely bent. So you can choose if you need to take the knee down or the foot down. So let's see what happens when we turn the foot out. So you're turning the toes out and back. So we're turning, and this connection all the way down in through the hip and what that feels like. Okay, and then stop that. Now we're going to do that same motion, but I want you to really focus the movement coming from the hip. So let the movement start from the hip, and the foot now becomes sort of that byproduct. It's a little bit different, a little bit more controlled, but I want to really start to bring more strength and mobility in through the hips. So this might feel a little bit more muscular. Okay. And then turn the foot and the leg out just slightly. We'll slowly start to bend the knee. So the foot comes down, the knees should be out a little bit towards the right side. And then draw the knee in towards the center, so moving towards the belly button. And then we'll take the leg back up in the air. So rotate the knee out to the side, the foot moves a little to the side, slowly bend the knee. Bring the foot down, and then draw the knee back to center. Okay, one more time. Bring the leg up, rotate the leg out to the right, bend the knee slowly, and then bring the knee back to center. And slowly we'll place that foot on the floor. Let everything relax. Notice what it feels like. Let's reconnect to breath while we're here. Find the 10 toes, the full circle of the heels, your inner knee, inner ankle magnets. Soften it just slightly. Keep the right foot rooted now and bring the left knee into the chest, and that foot comes up towards the ceiling. And again, we can play a little bit, just letting the foot lead the movement and what that feels like. Rotating the leg out and in. And then let that come to stillness. Now let the movement come right from the hip. Let the leg move out to the side and back. And again, this can be done with the knee completely bent. So it's like you're rotating that bone right in through the socket of the hip. Okay, and then rotate the knee out, the foot out a little. Slowly bend the knee, bring the foot down with awareness, and then draw the knee back towards the center, and the leg comes back up. The knee rotates out to the side. Slowly lower the leg down. Let the knee come back to center and slowly back up. So we're moving with full awareness, really watching in the body how we move, our functionality. And then one more time. Full awareness of the movement. And then bring the knee back to center, lower the foot down to the floor, and just let the knees tick-tock a little side to side, just releasing any gripping, any holding in through the back. And then let the knees come to center. Let's slowly bring one leg up, the other leg, so the knees are bent, right hand on right knee, left hand on left knee. We'll do some mortar and pestle. So the knees are bent. Bring the knees towards the chest, let them move away from each other, towards the feet, and then back. So you're creating these two big circles. And let these circles be as big or as small as you need. So maybe you feel the need to go really small, or maybe it feels better to you to go really big. Play with it, see what feels good in your body. That's usually what you need. Make sure you're breathing. And then when you feel ready, we'll slowly let those circles go in the opposite direction. And we'll notice here we're moving the wrists, the elbows, the shoulders, right over the pelvis again. We're getting a little bit of a rocking action there. And also the head, feel the head and neck moving. Every part of your body is moving here. We're starting to rehydrate and bring movement in through our fascia, our connective tissue. Okay, draw the knees in towards each other. Draw them in towards the chest for a couple of breaths, just squeezing the organs of digestion, elimination. And we're also lengthening through the back body here. Allow the feet to come back to the floor. Pause for a moment, let everything relax. And then let's bring our attention to our arms. So let the arms float up towards the ceiling, and then reach like you're trying to touch the ceiling. So we feel the shoulders lifting off the floor a little bit, and then let the shoulders sink down, let the elbows become soft so that the arms are sort of hanging there. And then let the hands come to touch each other. So let the fingers spread a little, and let the tips of the fingers come to touch. And then let the arms open up away from each other a little bit, and then back towards each other, the fingers can touch. So just open up and close like a little clam. You can add a little bit of fluid movement in through the wrists if you feel like that's something you'd like to explore. And also, if you want, we could start to add a bit of movement in through the head. So when the arms open, the head can roll to one side. When the hands come back together, Your head comes to center, and then when they open up, the head rolls to the opposite side. So now bringing a little bit of movement in through the neck. And just notice when the head rolls from side to side, what that feels like all the way down the spine. Okay, the next time the arms come towards each other, we're going to keep the fingertips touching. We'll bend the elbows so the forearms are now parallel with the floor. And we're just going to bring the arms up above you, or how do I describe this? So it's like you're touching the wall behind your head with the tips of the fingers, and then you take the elbows and you try to touch the wall where your feet are. So you're kind of going up and down, or side to side. No, not side to side. This is a hard one to describe in words. So maybe just have a look at what I'm doing here, and then you can come back down. So we're just basically rolling. The arms are going up and down through the joint of the shoulder, and the forearms are still parallel with the floor through the movement. And again, maybe the movement is quite small, so maybe the movement is just going a couple inches up and a couple inches down. Just depends on how you feel in your shoulders. So if it feels good, maybe go bigger. But bigger is not always better. Okay, and then let the hands come straight up towards the ceiling. Let the knees open up a little bit. Maybe even the soles of the feet can come together in Baddha Konasana. And we'll do what we call chopping wood. So imagine you have a big axe in your hands, and you're going to bring the axe up above the head. The arms come over the head and then down towards the feet, or between the legs. So we're rolling the arms up and down, getting a little bit more movement in through the shoulders. And again, you choose how big or small those movements need to be. The best way to think about the movement is as long as it feels fluid. If you feel like you're forcing into any movement, do less so that it feels really fluid and effortless. So let's do 3 more. And then let the arms come down, bring the hands to the outsides of the legs, let the legs come back towards each other, root down into the feet, lift the hips, and let's move our block or blanket out from underneath our hips, and we'll roll over to the side and slowly bring our way up onto hands and knees. So if you need a little bit of support underneath your knees here, you can take a moment and put your blanket under the knees. And we'll bring our hands under shoulders, knees underneath your hips. And the tops of the feet are rooting down, the heels beaming back. And just for a second, let's spread the fingers, come up onto the tips of the fingers, soften the elbows, and really feel like you're a little tree frog, really suction cupping those tips of the fingers into the floor, and then lower the hands down flat, but keeping that connection into the tips of the fingers. Soften the elbows and move through cat-cow. As we inhale, the belly drops, the tailbone and head come up, and as we exhale, we round the back, head and tailbone tuck under. So now really focus that motion starting from the hip, rolling 1 vertebra at a time as the head draws up, draw the shoulder blades back, the heart beams forward. And as you exhale, again, that motion flowing from the tailbone as the head drops down. Slowly rolling the spine. Thinking again like it's a wave coming in and out from the ocean. It's kind of rolling up towards the shore. And then as we move through cat-cow, notice if you're creating tension, and can you do this movement with less effort? Can you soften the muscles and let the whole body just move in sort of a fluid way? When we move by letting the muscles relax and take a back seat, And the connective tissue, our fascia, becomes more fluid and our fascia becomes stronger and is much, much stronger than muscle. Muscle tears. The fascia rarely does. Okay, let's come to neutral spine. Walk the hands forward, one hand length. Maybe spread them out a little bit. And we're going to move into spinal wave. So it's like cat-cow, but we come up into an up dog. So we round our back, shift the hips back towards the heels. They don't quite make it all the way. We find length through the arms. Keep connecting into your tips. And as you come forward, rounding that back, like a big turtle back. And as the shoulders come over top of the wrists, we start to open through the heart. We lift up through the top of the head. We're still connecting into the tops of the feet. And watch that you're not sinking in through the hips. Shift back, lead with the tailbone. Again, we're rounding the spine one vertebra at a time as we shift back. And then just come back and forth. So each time we are moving, we are in that rounded cat back. And then take your time as you transition, just feeling the whole body. So we do start to engage a little bit into our muscles, which is good. But we're also trying to let them soften to take a back seat. And we connect it through the tips to keep the whole body active. So the tips of the fingers, the tips of the toes leaning down. And if this feels like it's too much for you in the shoulders, then allow yourself to come back to your cat-cow motion instead, which is basically the same thing. Okay, when we come into this sort of up dog position, just pause there for a moment and just explore what's happening. So keep the shoulder blades down, lift through the top of the head. Notice if you're gripping it through the jaw or the eyes, the throat. Are you still connecting it through the tips of the fingers, the tops of the feet? And then very slowly start to lead with the tailbone, rounding the back, shift back towards child's pose. And when you come towards child's pose, let the hands come back, the elbows come out to the sides a little, and let your forehead come either to the floor or maybe on top of your hands, your choice. And then find your breath. Feel the breath opening up the back body. You can self-adjust if you need to take the knees apart in your child's pose. This is fine. And just notice what it feels like to soften. Notice what it feels like to relax the wrists and the arms. One more deep breath into your back. And then gently bring the hands underneath your shoulders, pushing slowly into your hands and coming up into our hero pose. And just pause here for a moment. Draw the shoulder blades back. This might be uncomfortable, so if you want, you can put a little something underneath your legs, but we won't be here very long. Let's take the hands out to the sides, turn the palms up, and inhale, let the arms float up. As we exhale, let the arms float down. Let the hands come down to the floor, shift into the hands a little bit as we curl the toes under, and then slowly lift the knees up as we walk the hands back towards the legs, push into the tips of the fingers and lift the hips up, coming into Uttanasana, forward fold. Pause here for a moment, soften the knees quite a bit to make sure that the back is not being tugged. And then just wiggle a little bit side to side. If you have any issues with blood pressure, if you think you might be pregnant, or if you feel dizzy at all, just lift the head above the heart. And then let that movement come into center. Root down through the feet, bend the knees, and inhale slowly, reverse swan dive. Use your leg strength to come up. Exhale, hands to heart. Okay, so find your Tadasana, whatever that looks like to you. So maybe that means the shoulders are hunched forward a little bit. Maybe that means the hands are turned in towards the legs and not opening up. So just take a moment and let the body choose. So close your eyes. And don't let the mind start telling you you have to be a certain way. Just let the body be completely in its own Tadasana. And just arrive here. And then start to feel the connection in through the feet. The 10 toes again. So really, we're just very gently leaning. So think of like the softness of that little tree frog again. The full circle of the heel. And then notice, do you lean into the toes or the heels? Or maybe let's just rock a little forward and back. So lean a little forward, you feel more weight come into the toes. Lean a little back, you feel it into the heels. So as you slowly rock forward and back, we can notice how the muscles of the legs, everything starts to engage a certain way to hold you in one position, and then it shifts to hold you in another. So our bodies are adapting and changing all the time. And then let that movement slowly come to center. So it's just like when we were doing our pelvic tilts, that we come to that place that feels just right. We're not too far forward, we're not too far back. And then bring attention to your knees. And notice if your knees are locked, and if they're locked, just soften them a little so that it feels like the backs of the knees are yawning. They're open. And then notice your hips. Are you gripping in the hips? Can you soften in through the hips? The belly, the shoulders, the neck, the arms, the eyes, and all the way up to the top of the head. Feel the connection into the earth and feel the space around you. Feel your body and what it feels like in relationship to the space around you. And then keeping your eyes closed, let's inhale and let the arms start to float up. So really feel the arms as they open up. And then as you exhale, let the arms float down. The palms can turn down. And just really be aware of what it feels like to move your arms through space. Let's do that 3 times. Inhale, the arms come up. And exhale, let the arms float down. Watching. Last one, inhaling up. This time, as we exhale, root through the feet. Let the hips shift back and slowly start to bend forward. So bring your hands palm up forward as if you're offering. You're bowing down to that inner self. Inhale, halfway lift. So lift the head and heart. Exhale, fold forward, watching. Knees can be bent. Bend the knees. Inhale, reverse swan dive. Feeling the body move. Again, the eyes can be closed or just softly open them. And then exhale, bring the hands to heart. So we'll do that again. And if you're not at the top of your mat, maybe come to the top of your mat. And we'll do this again. So rooting through the feet, find your inner magnets. Soften, inhale, watching the arms as they move. Exhale, fold forward. Feel the body as you move and transition with connection. Inhale, halfway lift. So that means bring the hands to the shins maybe. Nice flat back, feel it grow. Exhale, fold forward. Bend the knees, inhale, reverse swan dive. Feel the body opening and moving. Let the movement feel good. Exhale, hands to heart. One more time, inhale. Exhale, fold forward. Take your time. Feel the body as you move with connection. Inhale, halfway lift. So our movements aren't just moving, we're feeling the body
Bend the knees. Keep it your forward fold for a sec. Bend the knees a little more. Bring your hands to the floor on either side of your feet and step back into downward facing dog. So take your time. Find your dog. Root down into the tips again, the toes and the tips of the fingers, hands and feet push away from each other. We feel that rebound force through the center. And then gently, with that connection into the hands and feet, lower the knees slowly to the floor. Untuck the toes, round the back, shift back towards the heels. And then come forward, rounding the back, that cat pose again. We'll do our spinal wave, lift the heart through the shoulders, lift the top of the head up, shoulder blades come back. And then keeping that connection into the feet, shift back towards child's pose. Bring the hands back a little, pause in your child's pose. And then from child's pose, we're going to transition back to downward facing dog. So I want you to really pay attention to how your body moves. So find that rounded back, curl the toes under and let your legs lift you slowly into downward facing dog. When you come into downward facing dog, let the hands and feet push away from each other. Find your breath. Now, take the weight into the right hand and the left foot. Let them push away from each other, which brings the right foot light. Let the right knee slowly come into chest, and then let that leg grow back behind you. So it's like the hands are pushing forward, that leg is reaching back, then bend the knee and step that foot forward. So if you need to, you can take the left knee down first and then grab that foot and bring it forward and then lift your back knee off of the floor. From here, let's take that back foot and we'll just bring it forward slightly, a little bit over to the left, and turn the toes now towards the top left corner of your mat. So they're slightly forward and the foot is flat on the floor. And then push the feet away from each other. Find the connection into the tips and take the right hand to the right hip. And the left arm can slide forward and let it reach forward as you slowly come up. Keep the connection in through the feet. Let the arm come up. The hips and shoulders are facing towards the front edge of your mat. And then take the right hand off of your hip and let that arm come up, coming into warrior one. Feel that connection to feet. So adjust it if you need to, the body. You can move. It's okay to move. You can bring the hands to heart if that feels better on your shoulders. You can choose. Okay, let's do a little bit of a twist with awareness. So take the right hand again back to the right hip. You can take it maybe to your low back, even the back of the hand to your low back. And then reach the left arm forward so that you're creating length through that whole left side of the body. And then start to rotate that arm towards the right side. And we start to rotate the body into a bit of a twist. And then if you want, you can keep this hand on your back. This front hand can maybe come to your knee. That's another option. Or you can take the arms to the front and back. For me and my sore shoulder that I always work with, I tend to do a little bit more of this where my arms are supported, but you can play with the game what feels better for you. Make sure the feet are rooting away from each other. And then take a deep breath, lengthen through the top of the head. And as we exhale, slowly untwist. Let's come back to warrior one. So again, the hands can be at the heart or they can be up. And then from here, let's transition slowly into warrior two. So slowly, let's bring the hands to heart. Now we rotate the back foot and let's take it back just a little bit. Turn the foot a little bit out to the side and make sure this front knee is over top of the ankle. So we might need to lift the heel off the floor. And again, we find that movement from the hip as we rotate the knee
and then lower the foot down. So the feet are pushing away from each other. And again, you can have the hands at heart, or maybe the arms start to grow. Now, I want you to make sure, again, that you're not letting the mind take over and the mind telling you I need to be a certain way, really tight and reaching hard. So just let your body choose. So maybe the elbows are soft. Maybe the arms are a little forward. Find a position in your body. Maybe the front knee isn't as bent. So really play with your warrior. Doesn't matter what it looks like. Just think about what it feels like. Take the back hand to the back leg. Take the right arm up towards the ceiling. Find the length right from the hip crease up. And again, if you need to, maybe just the elbows coming up and the hand stays on the shoulder. Take a deep breath in. And as we exhale, we'll slowly start to windmill the arms down to the floor. Rotate the back foot and step back into downward facing dog. Hands and feet push away from each other. Let the knees come down to the floor. Stay connected into the tips as you do that. Untuck the toes, take the hips back towards child's pose. And then reach the arms forward as far as you can. And then slowly round the back as you come up and through that spinal wave. Heart beams through the shoulders, lift up through the top of the head. And then shift back again towards that child's pose. Curl the toes under, let the hands come back and come back into downward facing dog. Again, your hands and feet push away from each other, knees to be soft. Left hand and right foot take the weight, let them push away from each other, left knee comes into chest, and we let that leg grow back in our three-legged dog. And then bend your knee that's in the air and slowly step that foot forward. Again, you can take the back knee down, walk it forward, however you get here, and then take your back foot, let it move a little to the right and come down so it comes a little closer. Left hand to left hip, and then reaching the right arm forward and up as we stay connected in through both feet. Coming up into warrior one on this side. Finding your breath again. If you had your hands at heart, you can do that again on this side and just play with it. What does it feel like in your warrior? Can you make it more comfortable? Notice if you're gripping anywhere, even in the jaw, the eyes. Okay, let's slowly come into a twist. So take the left hand again to your low back. Reach the right arm forward and slowly start to rotate, and maybe that hand comes to the leg, maybe it comes forward. You can choose. I think whatever you did on the last side, if you can do the same thing. Notice your breath in your twist. Notice what it feels like on this side compared to the last. And then very gently, let's slowly start to untwist. And hands to heart. And then open up the back leg now. You can walk that foot back, because in our warrior two, the stance is a little wider. This front leg, again, you can lift the heel and rotate from the hip. So the knee comes over the ankle and then lower the foot down. Feet push away from each other. And then you can slowly come into your version of warrior two on this side. So play with it. Let it be a position of strength, but also of softness. You see, the best athletes in the world, they have a way of making it look easy. They have trained their body to move with ease and strength. Allow the back hand to come down and just rest on that back leg. And we'll take the left arm up. The front knee stays bent if that feels okay, and feel the length through the side body here. Feel your breath. Maybe the gaze is looking up, maybe it's looking forward. You choose what feels good, but really feel as if that length is coming up through the top of the head. Take a deep breath in, get a little bit stronger, a little bit taller, a little more open. And as you exhale, we'll slowly windmill the hands down to the floor, readjust your back foot, and then shift back into downward facing dog. So adjust your hands and feet in your dog. Maybe here we bend one knee, then the other. And then bend both knees, lower them down to the floor. Come towards a tabletop position and we'll bend the elbows. We'll bring the chest and the chin down towards the floor. And then slowly start to straighten out the legs. Point the toes back and root down through the legs, the pubic bone, and really reach the crown of the head forward. Like you're trying to touch your head to the front of the room here. And all of a sudden the head and chest lift up just a little. There's no weight on the hands. We're just feeling like we're stretching that spine forward, lengthening it. And find your breath. Feel the breath moving the belly. Feel the breath into your back. Feel the muscles of the back body working here, but rooting into the tops of the feet. So the feet are pushing down. Imagine there's magnets again between the legs. The legs are drawing in like you're wearing a little pencil skirt. Okay, from here we're going to push into the hands, which are under the shoulders. Slowly bring yourself up and back towards child's pose, and then coming back slowly into child's pose. As a counter pose to that little back bend. So you can take your hands if you like, make a pillow, let your forehead rest. Or you can take your arms beside your legs and let your forehead come to the floor or a block. Knees can be together, knees can be apart, your choice. Reconnect to breath and feel the body relaxing a little now. Feel how the energy is starting to shift and change as we go from a standing, more strength kind of position to now a position of softness, of ease, of letting go. And when you feel ready, let's slowly, slowly come back up and shifting over to one side and coming with our legs crossed. So maybe taking the opposite leg forward that you normally do. And if you want, you can just sit a little bit on a bit of a blanket or something. And if you don't have a blanket, just come forward a little bit. We feel the sit bones lifting a little bit. And then walk yourself back until you feel the muscles of the front body or the belly, the core, just to engage a little bit. And then just stop there. Let's take the hands out to the sides. Inhale, let the arms float up. And as we exhale, take the arms down and let them come behind us. You can either hold on to the opposite wrist or you can take your hands in a reverse prayer position, your choice, as long as it feels okay on the shoulders. Let the heart lift, but soften the front ribs. Find your breath. Now remember which hand is on top, because we're going to release it and come back again with the opposite hand on top. So slowly releasing the hands. Inhale the arms up. And exhale, let the arms come down, really watching them move through space, and take the opposite arm on top, or again come into that reverse prayer. Keep focusing on relaxing the parts of the body that might start to create tension, like maybe the shoulders or the neck. Reconnect to breath. Notice how different it feels just with the opposite hand on top. And then gently releasing the arms. We'll inhale again, let the arms float up. Exhale, let them come down. One more time, inhale, let the arms float up. And this time as they come down, let them bend at the elbows and they stop about the height of your shoulders, spread the fingers wide, and then we come into this sort of cactus or goddess arms. So now we're going to move into a twist with our arms like this. So think of the twist starting from the tailbone, moving all the way up. So we inhale, get some length. And as we exhale, the motion starts from the bottom and moving to the right first. Slowly, slowly, one vertebra at a time. And the shoulders and neck sort of move in a unit. So don't worry so much about moving the neck. It already gets a lot of movement throughout the day. We're just trying to open a little bit more throughout the rest of the spine. And then once we find our spot where we can't go any further, slowly let the arms start to float down to the floor, to the front and back, and let them soften. Let the shoulders relax. Stay lifted through the heart, and notice your breath in your twist. So you'll notice as you inhale, you need more space, and as you exhale, there's a softening. We get a little bit more space to go deeper into the pose. So as we inhale, you can release it a little so that you get more breath. And as you exhale and the belly draws in, maybe we can go a little bit deeper. Just play with that edge a little bit through your breath, maybe 3 times. Inhale as you release just a little. And exhale. Go maybe a little bit deeper. And then one more time. On your next inhale, we'll slowly come back to center. Let the hands come to the knees. Pause. Let's reconnect to breath. Notice what it feels like. Feel the vibration of coming out of that twist. Feel how the body's adjusting now to center. What it feels like to breathe. Okay, let's uncross the legs, recross them the opposite way. Take the hands to the outsides. Inhale, let the arms float up. And as we exhale, bend the elbows, come back to goddess arms, shoulders are relaxed. We're still lifting through the top of the head. Take another breath in as we lengthen. And as we exhale, again, we start to twist from the bottom up. So you can close your eyes if you like and just let the body move. Doesn't matter how far you go. Just watch where your body wants to stop. And then once you've found that position where you're not forcing anymore, it doesn't matter how far you go. Maybe one side's more open than the other, and that's okay. We're just observing. And then let the arms float down to touch the floor. Let the shoulders relax. And again, watch the breath in your twist. So as we inhale, we might lengthen, soften into the twist a little. And as we exhale, we naturally feel that low belly, the belly come in. Maybe we go a little bit more. We play with our edge and we let the body choose to go deeper if it wants. Couple more rounds with your breath, really paying attention to your own body, where it wants to take you. Watch if you do have the tendency of trying to force things, and just back off on that, because then you're living more in the mind, the ego telling you what to do, as opposed to letting the body choose. And then when you're ready, just gently release back to center. Again, take a moment, close your eyes and observe. Feel what it feels like to come out of the twist on this side. Does it feel different? When we watch the body like this, really, sometimes the less you move, the more you see from the inside. That's when we start to repattern and change things in our body. We're not so much in a muscular form, but we are more in the fascia, and that's where the nervous system lies. So this is more of a practice for our nervous system. Our senses become more heightened. We become more aware of our body. And this is really important because as we grow in life, we lose that sense of connection with ourselves sometimes. We're teaching ourselves how to reconnect. Okay, let's make our way onto our backs one more time so you can move your props off to the side if you're sitting on something. And coming down, you can hold behind one or both legs, roll down onto your back, hug the knees back into chest, and rock a little side to side, massaging your back, your shoulders, the back of the head. Okay, and then come into center. Take both the arms and the legs up towards the ceiling, and we're just going to let everything shake. Shake, 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 shake. Notice the feet, if one foot or ankle is tighter than the other, just really let everything shake. The wrists, the arms, everything. And then from there, we're going to stretch. Come to stillness, stretch. And then let everything soften. Let the arms and the legs come back down to the floor. You can get ready for Shavasana. So if you need a blanket over top, you can do that. Or support underneath your legs, maybe a little bit higher up. And then tuck the shoulders under. Maybe the arms move a little bit away from you. And then just observe how the body settles. Maybe take a couple cleansing breaths where you breathe in through the nose deeply and out through the mouth at the side. One more time. And then settle into your natural breath. Notice how your body's settling here, how it's becoming very quiet. Feel the beating of your heart. Soften the eyes and the jaw, the shoulders. And like we did at the beginning, allowing that bowling ball weight of the head, the shoulders and the hips just to surrender to the earth. So it's like you're being held. Stay present. Keep watching. Keep relaxing. And just gently bring awareness back to your breath. Connecting into the movement of your body, your own internal rhythm. And then without moving, allow the eyes to softly open and allow the inner and outer to merge softly. Become aware of your surroundings. Look around. Become aware of what your body feels like on the floor. And the touch of the air on your skin. And then when you feel ready, in your own time, adding movement and slowly making your way up to a seated position. And when you find your seat, again, allow the eyes to close. Drop the weight. Feel that rebound lifting you up through the top of the head. Noticing again the movement of air as you breathe. A touch of air on your skin, even through the clothes. Let's bring our hands to heart center and bow down to our practice this morning. It is my honor and pleasure to share this early morning practice with you. Thank you so much for joining me. Namaste.